Hello, happy Monday, happy brand new start to the week. Oh my gosh, we have just come off of an amazing weekend book launch. Our paperback release was on Saturday, October 22nd, 2022, celebrating the 22 women writers of the Cinderella Monologues. So we made it. We made it into top 100 of women's biographies on Amazon. I think we were writing right around number 64 or so, but you can help. You can help us rise and continue to trend to the top. So please order your copy. The link is on the screen. So there's a short link for the Amazon copy of the Cinderella Monologues. We'd love your support. And Mila and I, we were, tracking our numbers throughout the entire night, all the way up until midnight Eastern, before Cinderella carriage turns back into pumpkin. But look what I found today. I found pumpkin earrings, which I thought were so cute for today's conversation. But I am so thrilled to continue the theme of Cinderella and sitting down with each of our authors. And so we are preparing for the ebook launch next. So mark your calendars. November 5th will be our ebook launch. And so if you missed the party this weekend, you definitely want to be there for the ebook launch because there's more prizes, more fun things that we'll be doing to promote and give away. And keeping in the theme with Cinderella, how do we remain that connection? How do we maintain that connection to her, right? And so our next guest author today, Chris Dyer, is going to talk to us about this connection theme because she is known as the connection chemist. And I'm so thrilled to interview Chris today. She is forever my sparkle sister, just because we have done so many collaborations this year alone. You might have seen Chris and I on different channels, but she really helped me to add more sparkle and embellish my life, beginning with this mug. We did this for my 40th birthday party, and it was so much fun to have her come on with our friends and design this mug. So there's my monogram mug. And then she was a part of our Sing Your Heart Song Summit, and we had this idea of creating a workshop where everybody could order the custom journals with their names and would have our summit logo, and they could embellish that. So this is my finished product. So there it is. This is a very special edition Sing Your Heart Song Summit journal. So all my notes from the journal are in here and totally filled up. So I love this. And, the nice thing about Chris is that she always gives you some extra crystals. So, I found other items that I could embellish as well. So including this beautiful journal. I've got that. And I'm in the process of working on my glasses, my sparkle glasses. So it's soon to come. So I have a lot to be thankful for Chris with just adding more sparkle and radiance to my life. And I know that she will do the same for you once you read her chapter. So let's bring on Chris this morning. Hello, Chris. Welcome.
Hey, how are you? I would say good morning, but this is probably evergreen. So good afternoon, wherever you happen to be.
And you just moved. Oh my gosh, you have been in just a whirlwind of activity and moving. How do you like your new place so far?
Well, I'm still getting acclimated, if you will. A couple of rooms still have boxes still stacked up. I mean, I just got moved in this past week, and it's been a year and a half long transition, I would say, between, selling our home that we lived full time together, my husband launching a business in a different state, me commuting back and forth. It's going to feel really good to maybe sort of have a home base until we have our forever home. And I'm not even sure that's possible to have a forever home. I'm going to have multiple tiny homes. So in different places that I love, and actually talking with some other women collaborators about maybe possibly creating tracts of land with tiny homes where we can host retreats for special populations.
Oh, that would be amazing because I know you're very well connected to your polka dot sister community, etc. And you had mentioned, it's a global home, right? Like now with this digital world that we're living in, we can create a global home.
Yeah, home is wherever your heart is and wherever your happiness is. And as you know, we both thrive in an enlightened, happy place. And so wherever we happen to be is going to be our happy place. It doesn't need to be a physical GPS, if you will, location. So
home is where the heart is. Exactly. Excellent. So, Chris, you're one of the last authors that we got in to the book. And
Yes.
thankfully so, we had talked about it at the time, but I guess the timing was off. But finally, like you were able to, in the midst of everything going on, you've been speaking, traveling, and moving. You were still able to make it work. So we so appreciate you, coming into our compilation book. And what was that like? Just being able to like be inspired and jump right in at that moment in time.
Well, thankfully, support with individuals like yourself and the master corroboration, from Mila was, I mean, she made it easy for me to be able to do that. And I'm just very thankful for the space and grace because I'm sure I didn't make it easy. Just with all the traveling and all the other commitments that were already in place, and I'm very intentional about meeting my obligations and commitments to many different entities and enterprises. So when you said that there was going to be a butterfly on the cover after the end of the Sing Your Heart song summit, it's like, yeah, I got a little bit of FOMO actually. And so the timing wasn't exceptional for me, and yet things that are meant to happen work out. I just trust and just show up and allow things to fall into place. So I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Yes, we didn't know we were gonna go with a butterfly theme as well. And so like you are the embellished butterfly. So of course, right? Of course
Of
you had to be in
course,
the
yes,
book.
I know. Yeah.
Awesome. Talk a little bit about, how you even came up with this idea, the embellished butterfly. That's such a unique business name. So how did that come to be?
Well, the name actually came up about 7 years before I actually launched that part of my business. I had been an online entrepreneur since about 2005 and found and created much success selling, just being a reseller on the online marketplace. And when that ran its course, and you know, it allowed me to create abundances and serve and help a lot of people. And when it ran its course, I decided I wanted to go a creative route. And that just meant being a creative means it's a different type of vulnerability because you don't know if what you put out into the world is going to be well received. Well, that's number one. Number two is I always wanted to invent something, right? Something new and unique that nobody had done before. Well, I also knew that if I sat in that space for too long, then I would end up doing nothing, right? I would just be stunted, thinking I had to come up with something new and different. And so I went back to my love of a part-time job I had as a young adult, and that was creating beautiful, big, chunky crystal jewelry. And I fell in love with Swarovski crystals, and I knew all the colors and the shapes and sizes and just the beauty and the radiance of the product and the Swarovski name. And I did that for about a year and a half, and then had to grow up and be a big girl and have the responsible jobs of providing a more substantial income, benefits, all the things. Adulting, it's kind of overrated, but anyway. So that shelved for many years until this opportunity came where I wanted to be a creative entrepreneur. So I knew that I didn't want to do jewelry because there's a lot of great jewelry artisans already out there, and I've always been intentional on differentiation, what makes me different than everyone else. And so I decided to bring back my love for the Swarovski crystals, but turn it into something that I could create personalized gifts for others, because I love to create, but not necessarily for myself. And what I learned is in this creative bubble in the past 3 years, being creative is actually a meditative space. We're talking about health and wellness and longevity. There's a lot of terms around, using the term meditation and what does that actually mean to other people? Well, for me, any type of meditation is something that calms the nervous system, right? That allows us to function and reset and just quiet the angst that's going on. So anybody who is a creative and allows themselves that opportunity, they're actually getting a benefit that our subconscious appreciates. Even though we're producing a product that's something tangible, what really becomes is who we become, not just what we're doing. So there's multiple parallels on just the beauty of being a creative and allowing that in our space and in our conscience. So Embellished Butterfly, the name came to me 7 years before I actually launched that leg of my business. It's been about 4 years now. Butterfly, as you know, has multiple connotations, not one of them ever negative. When people think of butterflies, they're usually light, colorful, beautiful. They touch lightly on things. They look above. They're also pollinators, nurturers, right? They live on this earth a very short time, and they bring beauty in the short time that they're here. So just the word butterfly and just the metamorphosis. I mean, all, like I said, all the metaphors and analogies around that. I've always loved butterflies. And the word embellished is not a very commonly used word. But when we think of taking something ordinary and creating something extraordinary out of that, that is the act of embellishing, right? I mean, embellish could also mean to take it to a negative context, to make something false out of something common. But for me, it's to add the sparkle, add the light, add the radiance through Swarovski crystals, and hence the name Embellished Butterfly 7 years before I even launched it. And it was mine to use because no one else was using it. You know, we did all of the Google searches and made sure that it wasn't already being used from somebody else. So it was meant for me to embrace. And what a beautiful combination of metaphors and language. And those who know me as the Embellished Butterfly. They know me either sparkle or they know the butterfly. Even I love that, you know, in our emojis, we have that blue butterfly. And whenever I send a response, usually it's a butterfly. When people see the butterfly, they associate that with Chris Dyer. So I'm grateful to have enveloped that in my branding, just the association of the butterfly. So that was a long-winded answer to your question, Olivia.
No, I love it. And I love the fact that it was an idea that you had 7 years ago, but it took that time, right? Timing and space have to merge in order for you to be ready to fully launch that. And like you said, it was yours. It was meant to be. And what a beautiful combination of metaphors and language, like you said. Like, yes, it is so true. And being creative is a meditative state. I love that you said that because let me just show you the kits that Chris Dyer sends you. Like these are the kits that you get, right? Has all your tools, very nifty tools and glue. But you know, when you have these crystals, you have to like pour them out, and then it is a very meditative state. Like you always lead us through this exercise. Like you got to flip them over, you got to sort them by size, you got to sort them by color, and so it really does help us to like, because on one hand we're so excited, we want to jump in, right? And on the other hand, it's like, oh my gosh, like we don't know where to begin because these are like sometimes really tiny pieces. But you always lead us through this calming, breathing, enjoyment, I want to say. Like, admire the crystals, look how they sparkle, see how they shine. So I really love that. I really love that you brought in that meditative quality too to this exercise. And that there's a method. There's a method to what we're doing because then it's easier. We have all the sizes sorted, right? Medium, large, and small. And then we have the colors sorted. We're doing multiple colors. It makes it a lot easier to like pick up and plop onto our design.
Well, there is a method to how I instruct or facilitate a class, and I always say success options for everyone, and I always encourage that everyone has a creative gene in their body, whether they want to believe it or not. So I advocate for creativity at all creative levels, right? Success at all creative levels, but it's even more than that because, you know, coming from the physical space, and part of my background is in health and wellness, and even in the fitness space. But and even you, Olivia, and I love that I know enough about you that we can tie in how we are similar in some ways. And we've even talked about, you know, breath yoga and how just bringing oxygen and awareness into our bodies is one of the things that helps calm our nervous system and brings us happiness, peacefulness, right? Amidst the storm going on outside in the things that we can't control. We know that we can control our own personal space by doing these small, beautifully artistic, meditative classes. So.
Thank you. Thank you. And you know, Embellished Butterfly is only one of the 3 startups that Chris has. Because you also have a consulting and sort of coaching practice too. So talk a little bit about that. Chris G is a very innovative business strategist. She likes to say that she produces quantum results, for her clients. And I really truly believe that, not only for business, but in life. And so talk a little bit about this track method I see on your website.
Well, sure. Well, track is an acronym that it's really a loose basis and guideline for how I guide people through just an agreement with themselves. Getting them back and realigned to who they are. As particularly as women, I could speak to women, but even men, because I've been helping my husband on a similar journey. Is like we get so inundated and super hyper focused on an objective or a desired result, and we forget who we are, and it helps to zoom out and look at the bigger picture. So what I have an ability to do very well is to help extract human potential from individuals, whether it's men or women, and help them go back and realign the different successes they've had in their life, or help them see a perspective around some of their journey, and reshift their focus, and then helping them apply those to new results and objectives, and putting new actionable items into their daily habits to help them get back on track, and kind of maybe it's a new career path, maybe it's even a direction that they never even saw, but helping them realign the pieces of their cosmic puzzle, right, that they're born into this world with, and helping them realign those pieces, and maybe turning those puzzle pieces over and seeing how they fit in another part of their lives. And really, I like to call it the cosmic puzzle box. We're all born with all the pieces. We have everything we need. We're born with them. We just go through our lives figuring out how to put those pieces together and turn them over and make them work. And the different people that come into our lives, sometimes we don't know why that happened. And then when we understand and we can shift, it's like, oh, that really did happen for me. Now I see the lesson from it, right? I mean, there's no failures. There's just lessons. And I think that's one of the quotes in the book, actually. Actually, I went through, because I just got the book in the mail yesterday. I wanted to be prepared for our time today, but there's a lot of great quotations in here that add value, not just the stories, but the quotes. And but anyway, and just the K is, we've got the T for transforming, the R, and then the A for the action, the C for the career and the creativity, and then the K is just the knowing and trusting yourself. And I think part of my story is it took me 53 plus years to learn how to trust myself and acknowledge that, what, I am going in the right direction. I am going on my correct cosmic journey and path, because I needed to do the work and put those pieces together and flip the pieces over, and realize how everything has been happening for me. The right people have been coming into my life, even though there was a time that it's like, yeah, I'm not real sure about that. And just kind of sits there. That energy just sits out there and you don't know what to do with it. But that's where, a lot of people have become disconnected from themselves, and connection to others helps us come better connected to ourselves. And when we're connected to ourselves, that's where the self-trust, the impeachable self-love, unconditional, loyalty to yourself, so that you can become more radiant and shine brighter for those who haven't learned how to create that for themselves yet. And so that's what I love to do, is I love to help other people just create that beautiful knowing and trusting themselves, and then going out and then collaborating with others, creating some big work and big impact in the world. So there's that is the consulting arm. And then you mentioned the Positively Panache, and that is where I collaborate with other creatives to help shine their light in the world, either through marketing online or retail wholesale. There could be some coaching tied into that as well. But it's mainly on the marketing piece and helping to promote them and getting those sales back to them, and just that awareness. But, Embellished Butterfly is also doing some very impactful work with the adults with handy capabilities, right? So I actually have a production partner in Embellished Butterfly who actually, through my creativity and my vision, the work comes through me, and I'm actually able to pass it on to her to do the creation. So if I'm able to work with these very special, handy-capable adults to teach them what I know, they can produce, they can have occupational skills, they can learn self-empowerment and self-trust by making decisions and doing and putting beauty out into the world. And that's helping them create future independence. So those that support any of the businesses that are under the umbrella, you're supporting adults with handy capabilities, whether you know it or not, right? Because that's what we're here to do, is to create impact and advocate for those that don't have the capabilities of advocating for themselves. So as a connector, I love connecting these adults with resources to help them thrive and hopefully create some future independence for themselves and have a voice and share their beautiful gifts and creativity with the world.
That is so beautiful, Chris. I had not heard of that phrase yet. So instead of handicap, handy capabilities.
Mm.
Oh my gosh. Wow. You're right. And just, learning to build occupational skills and working towards independence for themselves. You're right, in a different way,
Well, when we talk about diversity and inclusivity, immediately people will think, well, towards different cultures, different races, different gender identities, right? There's such a focus. It's like, well, there are other populations that aren't as widely recognized as being part of the diversity community, right? And so that's how I can utilize my gifts to help shed some light and awareness on this group of individuals. And there, it's just really remarkable. I met a woman from Canada who we connected at the celebration we were at a couple of weeks ago. You mentioned Polka Dot Powerhouse. She is an advocate for adults with disabilities because in her own family, her oldest child is one of those individuals. And she is creating impact. She has a podcast about living your legacy. I am a legacy member of Polka Dot. So I feel like who I am being behind the curtain exemplifies and honors that whole theme about leaving a legacy, right? Who are we being? Who are we helping? Who are we creating impact for? And I'm very excited about some future collaboration opportunities. But I'm very, very intentional about this. And she actually collaborates with another woman who has a nonprofit that I'm excited about sharing some gifts with. And it's Love Sees No Diversity or Disability. Love Sees No Disability, right? And when we talk about love, and love is my superpower, right? I figured that out months ago. I actually branded that on a shirt for myself. It's like, self-love is your superpower. Love is our superpower. And when we bring that love, and when you think about adults that are handy capable, that's all they know, right? They're not so caught up in their head of, judging or comparing themselves with other people. They just see themselves and their families in a place of love. And how amazing not to be trapped in our own heads with judgment, guilt, blame, shame, comparison, all those things, right? All those things that could potentially diminish us. But those of us that have worked through that, and part of these stories in the book, in the Cinderella Monologue, are women who have embraced their resilience and resourcefulness, overcome through their journeys. And it's just a beautiful journey. That's all I have to say.
No, thank you for bringing awareness, because I think, they don't get as much recognition when we talk about diversity, the handy capabilities population. So I think I'm excited to see what will come forth from this new collaboration. And, in talking about the cosmic puzzle pieces, so how did writing your chapter on resistance to resilience tie in? Right? Because you have a lot of different themes that have been coming through your life and even through today's discussion. So were you able to tie that in to the chapter?
Well, yeah, I think for me, the big one is, as a child, I was insanely curious, and I didn't really have a sense of fear. And I'm not really sure where that came from, unless I was just born with it. But in the chapter, it talks about a 6-year-old girl who jumps in the 8-foot deep end of a swimming pool. without really thinking about what the consequences were. She never had swimming lessons, but she knew she could get to the other side. She believed in it before she even did it, right? And it's that belief of being able to accomplish something before you even have tried it. And I think that's an overriding theme throughout this book, with so many different women's stories. And that was the first one that I really sifted out of, doing the work and uncovering the stories that were the memories, going back to we forget who we are, that memory of, that's the first very impactful, empowering memory that I have of myself, is standing on the diving board, jumping into 8 foot of water and swimming clear across to the other side to where my feet could touch again in a 3 foot section. I didn't ask for permission. I just did it. And I don't really recall asking for forgiveness. I just remember jumping in, swimming effortlessly to the other side. And in my periphery, there were probably other adults sitting, watching this little girl jumping and swimming in. But I know my mother was all completely on the other end of the pool, just kind of, staring, just sitting there, just watching to see what was going to happen. And, when the swim across the pool was completed, it's like that was a huge sense of satisfaction. But I think it also put a sense of fear in my mother. It's like, oh my gosh, she can do this. What else is she going to try? And I think that's where a lot of the things I had to overcome was sifting through and putting aside fears and insecurities that were gifted to me that I didn't ask for. And I think that happens to a lot of individuals, and could keep us stuck, is when we carry that baggage that other generations, other entities in our life hand to us, thinking it's ours to carry when it wasn't ours to behold in the first place. So that's basically the synopsis of my chapter in the book. And there are other situations that are mentioned throughout the chapter of stepping into that place of, I'm going to do this. I need to do this. I'm not really concerned about anybody stopping me, look out. I'm going to do it anyway. Kind of like, not asking for forgiveness, not permission. And there's a lot of people that resisted me making bold moves in my life. And yet I knew they needed to be done. And it really kind of stands true today for who I am. It's like, yeah, there's not a whole lot that scares me, which is a good thing. And it's probably unique and different from a lot of entrepreneurs, particularly. It's like, yeah, fear is not one of the things that gets in my way. I had to embrace the fact that I've been courageous and brave throughout my entire life since 6 years old. And it's like, okay, if you could do it then, what's your excuse now? So, I mean, I have myself as my built-in personal accountability check meter, if you will.
Wow, I commend you on that, just that deep knowing that you have. Like when you just know it in your heart of hearts, right? This is something meant for you. You got to go after and got to do it regardless of any external factors, external circumstances, external people.
Yeah. A lot of people go through life thinking, what's the worst that can happen, right? My perspective, my mind shift is, what's the best that can happen? And that's, whenever I go into a situation, that's what I lead with. What's the best that can happen?
Oh, I love that. Okay, I'm gonna have to capture this onto the screen. So what's the best that can happen?
Yeah.
Excellent. Wonderful. In thinking about our conversation today, I mean, connection is not just to the self. I mean, it begins with the self, but you just have a beautiful way of tying in, other people and community and cosmos. Connections, all those things, I feel like. So that's really compelling to think about,
Well, and there's a TED Talk tied in there as well. So I don't want to give away the title, but I do have a TED Talk title. That's a tongue twister there. So, but anyway, connection is my second value. It's love, connection, and contribution. I have broken down my values into those three. And that's actually helping me propel myself along with the decisions that I make going forward. When opportunities come to me, as long as they fit in that value of love, connection, or contribution, then I don't have to second guess myself, right? I'm trusting that the universe is bringing the people and the opportunities to me that absolutely fit into one of those three categories. Connection is a big one, and that's the one that I've learned to embrace the most in the past 3 years, particularly because before I launched Embellish Butterfly, I didn't really connect with other individuals. I didn't need to. My business was strictly online and quite successful. But when you're putting creativity out into the world, that's a whole new skill set, right? So past success, that with my work ethic and my can-do attitude and my ability to handle, customer service and distribution and all the things that make an online business successful, yeah, that works. Then when you add that creativity piece to it, now that's a whole nother ball game. And the fact that the creativity isn't always coming from me, it's coming through me. That's a whole different type of marketing and connecting with the right people. It's the who that we bring into our lives that really create that impact and success. It's not the how. So I've learned to release, how is this going to happen? I just keep showing up, trusting my inner guidance, my inner GPS, my North Star, if you will, in my values, just trusting that I am attracting the right people that's going to make it happen. But it's truly the connection piece, the connection to yourself, the connection to your community. And there's other things that we connect to, but anyway, it's all very expansive and very beautiful.
Indeed. Oh, I love this conversation. So, we started off with a theme of, how do we remain connected to Cinderella? And so I think, we love her, right? We love Cinderella. We love who she is. We embrace her for who she is, and seeing the potential, right, in Cinderella and finding connection there. And then connecting with her in different ways. We honor her gifts, her talents, like what she loved to do. And then we see how we can contribute to the Cinderella lineage, right? Changing the chapter, changing the ending. So I love it. I think your values tie in really well with the Cinderella connection.
Thank you. Well, I mean, as Cinderella, she was the underdog, right? And I feel very much like I've been the underdog most of my life. And similar to you, Olivia, we operate very well. Our strength is in supporting teams and being that right hand. We don't necessarily need to be in the spotlight. So we thrive in either way, whether it's behind the scenes supporting or being in the spotlight and advocating for others. Just being there to roll your sleeves up and do whatever's necessary for the greater good.
Well said, Chris. Thank you. Thank you. And I just love what you said too, because, we've like behind the scenes before coming on today, we had talked about, how we've met, and it was all very intentional, objective based. And you're like, Olivia, I just want to get to know you. I'm like, oh, it didn't occur to me.
Yeah,
so
I like to
overlap.
When we connect with people in the entrepreneur space or in the business space, that's what we see. We see the facade, right? That veneer, if you will, of our business. But there are so much juicy goodness. If you pull back that curtain of, I want to know who makes you who you are and why. And then I get to learn more about, how you thrive and how you function outside of your business. It's like, oh, now I can see possibilities and opportunities aside from just your current shingle that we're holding our business on. And that's the juicy stuff, really connecting with people, getting to know who they are, what makes them who they are, and who are they being, not just what they're doing.
Exactly. Well, I hope you make your way around to all the authors in the book. Every woman is so unique in her story and so special in her own way. And I think this is going to be a lasting community too. So excellent. And that's why I do these spotlights, so that way we can get the other side, right? Like not just the writing experience and the chapter, but just a little bit of who else they are in the spotlight. So wonderful. Well, thank you, Chris, so much for your time with us today. Best of luck, settling into your new Las Vegas residency.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. And so more to come. the link is on the screen. So buy the book. We would love your support. Buy extra books, though. That way you can give it out to your book clubs or even to networking events you're going to. It makes great holiday gifts. So think about men and women in your life that could be truly inspired by the Cinderella monologue. So thank you everyone for tuning in, and stay tuned tomorrow. We're going to have more author spotlights throughout this week as well too. So have a wonderful day. Bye, Chris. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
My pleasure.